Welcome to the final video in this series. My acans are covered in algae, and this one's entitled, My Acans Are No Longer Covered in Algae. See this guy's little nose peeking in over here. He's got to be a part of everything. This is going to be a relatively short video because I don't have any problems to discuss. The tank has been more or less turned around. It is doing exceptionally well, and I am going to put in a little bit of B-roll from my earlier movies and talk about what this used to look like, show how much algae actually used to be in here. It's really a remarkable transformation, actually. And I should mention that I have just come back from a week away. I had somebody else taking care of the tank, and the only thing I have done since returning is change the filter sock and clean the glass. So it's not like I've been cleaning out algae. This is just the way the tank kind of maintains now. But it's also not completely free of algae. I'll show you in a minute. The pump has a little bit of algae that always grows on it, and the output has a little bit of algae that always grows on it. I think it's because the hermit crabs and stuff can't get up there. Without further ado, let's take a look at the tank. It's unfortunate you can't just flip the camera around on an iPhone while you're recording a movie, but I'll put those two together later. So the biggest transformation is right here. I'll put in a couple of sort of picture over movies about how bad the algae actually was down in this corridor, but it was really, really bad. And a big part of the reason was, if you'll notice here, it's kind of goes all the way through down there. If the clown would get out of the way. And it made it extremely difficult for me to get in there and actually pull the algae out. It would get stuck around all of the bottoms of the octospawn and around the base of the bubble coral, around the base of the hammers. And it was just almost impossible to get to. The hermits really couldn't get down there. The snail shells were kind of too big to get down there. And that area trapped a lot of detritus. And that brings me to the one thing that really turned this entire tank around, honestly. And that was something I've always known, but for whatever reason stopped doing, which is basting off the rock. Now I do it with every water change, which is 5 gallons monthly. But for a while there, I was doing it weekly. And that absolutely turned the tide on this algae battle. No other single thing that I tried had anywhere close to the level of impact that that did. Regular basting of the rock just was the key. It was absolutely the key. I put a bunch of urchins in, like this guy here. This is a royal urchin, close to a tuxedo urchin, but a little more blue in color. Love them. They did great. I don't know if they ate the algae directly, but they certainly ripped it up and put it on their back, so it went down into the filter socks, which was amazing. And hermit crabs, I put a number of hermit crabs in here, probably 30 of them. I don't think many of them survived and grew out. I definitely have about 10 or 15. And they're doing a great job keeping the tank in the condition that it is now. And the I put a number of snails in here. Most of them are still around. And it's actually nice because I clean the glass on this tank once a week. And really, they do a great job of keeping it clean between in the interim. I view this tank mainly at night. So a little bit of algae on the glass doesn't bother me with the moonlights. But really, they do a great job. Like if my 300 would stay this clean between, cleanings, I might clean it once a week as well. Let's come around to the other side here. This was also a mess. Like I said, I'll put some B-roll over this video. But now you can see that the acans are just completely free of algae. You'll notice there has been some attrition as far as acans are concerned here. I got a couple of pencil urchins. And I read, that people didn't like them very much because they could knock corals off the rocks. And I'm like, oh yeah, all urchins do that, whatever, right? Well, they're a little excessive about it. They knocked a number of my acans face down into the sand, which ended up dying, which is really unfortunate. And so I would definitely not recommend pencil urchins to anyone. I ended up pulling them out for this reason. The new lights are still doing fantastic. The one that they warrantied out, I haven't had problems with the replacement at all, so that's fantastic. And the phosphate levels, I remember stating at the beginning of this that phosphate levels had initially been pretty high and that they had come down over the years. The phosphate levels remain relatively low. I think last time I checked they were at 0.05. And nitrate around 1 or 2. The phosphate is right in the range I like it. Anywhere from about 0.04 to about 0.1 is kind of the sweet spot in my opinion. I don't like to get it too low. If I see 0 on phosphate, I don't think the coral has what it needs to survive and thrive. And if I see even 0.03, I think is a little too low, and I start seeing corals getting lighter, less vibrant color, not growing as fast, etc., etc. You can see this acan actually needs to move. I just noticed that the hammer is probably getting it. This guy's growing like crazy. I love branching GSP. It just flows in the water. It's amazing. Oh, and speaking of which, this is some of the algae I still have in here. I don't think the hermits and the urchin can get to it up there. So it does grow there a little bit. And I'll come around here to the other side and show you that there is a little bit on the top of the pump as well. And it's sort of always like that. I do need to clean that pump. That's part of regular maintenance as well. It's actually past due, I should say. The one other thing that had a really strong impact on turning this tank around was that you can see I do run raw thaws, or rather the BRS high capacity stuff. I run 2 tablespoons changed monthly, and that's always been the case. That's not a change, it's always been the case. But one thing that was a change is monthly with the water changes, I am getting all of the detritus out of this sump. I don't know how it gets past the filter socks. There's always filter socks in there, and so I don't know how it gets past that, but it really does. And cleaning that out, I feel like, was also instrumental. Also, there used to be a rock in there, which made it really, really hard to clean out. A couple of rocks, actually. And I pulled them. There's just no need for them, and they were making things more difficult to keep clean. So they were pulled out. See one of the hermit crabs here, kind of playing around in the sand. But yeah, that is really the story. More than anything, basting your live rock. So if you are having a hair algae problem like I was, baste that live rock and, you know, do it weekly. It's just a turkey baster. It's a little tank. It wasn't that hard. If you have a bigger tank, I use a MaxiJet. Works real well. I am going to leave this on this shot because as soon as this is over, I'm going to have about 2 minutes of the tank from the first video, and you guys are going to be just stunned by the difference. Oh yes, in my Aptasia garden down there. It's absolutely amazing. I'm going to get some Borgias here pretty soon, but I don't want them to die. What I want them to do is I want them to be eating this because I've got wrasses in my 300. And hopefully I can breed enough of them that I can get a colony established in the 300 because I have Aptasia in there too. That's the plan.